Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। हरिण्याक्षो अनुजस्तस्य प्रीतिकृत अनुवहम् प्रिया प्रीतिकृत अनुवहम् गदापानेर्दिवं यातुः युयुत्सो मृगयन् रणम् हिरण्याक्षो अनुजस्तस्य प्रिया प्रीतिकृत अनुवहम् गदापानेर्दिवं यातुः युयुत्सुर्मृगयन् रणम् हिरण्याक्षो अनुजस्तस्य प्रिया प्रीतिकृत अनुवहम् गदापानेर्दिवं यातुः युयुत्सुर्मृगयन् रणम् हिरण्याक्षो अनुजस्तस्य प्रिया प्रीतिकृत अनुवहम् गदापानेर्दिवं यातो युयुत्सुर्मृगयन् रणम् हिरण्याक्षो अनुजस्तस्य प्रिया प्रीतिकृत अनुवहम् Gadapanir divam yato Yuyusu Migayan Ranam Hiranyakshun Jastasya Priya Priti Krita Anuvaham Gadapanir divam yato Yuyusu Migayan Ranam
Hiranyaksha anujastasya Priya Priti Krita Radhapani Divayato Hiranyaksho anujastasya Priya Priti Kritanvaham Gadapani divam yato Kristo Mudayandranam
Hiranyaksho
anujastasya
Priya Priti Kritanvaham
Priya Priti Kritanvaham
Gadapanir divam yato Yusur Mragayantanam
Hiranyaksho anujastasya Priya Priti Kritanvaham
Priya Priti Kritanvaham Gadapani divam yato
Yusur Mragayantanam
Hiranyaksho anujastasya
Priya Priti Kritanvaham
Priya Priti Kritanvaham Gadapani divam yato
Hiranyaksha Anujaha younger brother Tasya his Priyaha beloved Pritikrit ready to please Anuaham every day Gada Panihi with the club in hand Devam to the higher planets Yataha travel Yuyusuhu desiring to fight Mrigayan seeking Radam combat. His younger brother Hiranyaksha was always ready to satisfy his elder brother by his activity. Hiranyaksha took a club on his shoulders and traveled all over the universe with the fighting spirit just to satisfy Hiranyakashipu. His younger brother Hiranyaksha was always ready to satisfy his elder brother by his activity. Hiranyaksha took a club on his shoulder and traveled all over the universe with a fighting spirit just to satisfy Hiranyakashipu. Yes. Just keep it.
Demoniac spirit is to train all family members to exploit the resources of this universe for personal self-gratification, whereas the godly spirit is to engage everything in the service of the Lord. Hiranyakashipu was himself very powerful and he made his younger brother Hiranyaksha powerful to assist him in fighting with everyone and lording his perpetual nature. And if possible, he wanted to rule the universe eternally. These are demonstrations of the demoniac spirit.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshaya Shunyavadi Pashatu Deshatarine. Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hirnakshanujastasya Priya Priti Krita Anuvaham Gadapanen Dhavam Hyato Yuyosumrigayana Ranam. His younger brother Hiranyaksha was always ready to satisfy his elder brother by his activities. Hiranyaksha took a club on his shoulder and traveled all over the universe with the fighting spirit just to satisfy Hiranyakashipu. This is a big topic. See, whenever we have seen in the history, any kingdom becomes powerful, it starts controlling, subjugating, colonizing the other parts of the world. This has been the history. Is it right or wrong? That's the question. We see even Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he ruled, the Pandava brothers, his brothers, went all around the world and brought whole world under his rule. So, you see that. Is it right or is it wrong? Okay. So the point is this: what's the purpose? Everything we have to see what is the purpose. There is something called Dharma Yuddha. If some kingdom is not following rules and regulations, then the neighboring kingdom can say, what are you doing to your citizens? Correct? Suppose certain king is allowing drinking. Suppose certain king is allowing more sinful activities. And the citizens are suffering because of the misrule. There is corruption, so many things. The neighboring king can attack the king and overthrow that a demon. On behalf of the Lord, he can do that. That's called Dharma Yuddha. Like Yudhishthira Maharaj had to punish Duryodhana. That was Dharma Yuddha. Krishna himself sanctified the war. So war is not always bad, as generally thought by people. People of the Shudra mentality cannot understand war. Hello, Shudra Sambhavaha. Kaliga people can't understand. Just like there was, I always quote that incident. In Syria, there was some crazy people in the name of religion. They went to the houses, killed all the husbands, killed their children's parents, and picked up the girls and went away. 5,000 girls. 5,000 homes they destroyed. And they sold their girls like vegetable in the market. Correct? It happened in front of the whole world. No country in the world went there. If you take your army and fight, that war is Dharma Yuddha. True? No boots on ground. What is nonsense? Why you have army then? They will fly in the air. We have to fight on the ground. War means some people will die this side, some people will die that side. That's fine. That's fine. But you cannot say you will not fight. So generally the perception of the world is there should be no war. Correct? It's a foolish perception. Even Gandhi had this kind of an idea, non-violence. And if you study history, India never became independent, proper certified because he was there during that time. He said this movement had totally fizzled out actually. It doesn't make any sense. Somebody slapping this side, slap this side also. That's foolishness. That doesn't show any experiments with truth. So, well, that's a critical analysis. We respect him for whatever sacrifice he did for the country. But as a policy, we find non-violence is not in the administration. Administration has to be violent sometimes, and definitely that includes war. Sometimes. Nothing wrong. But Shudra mentality people are so scared because Kshatriya can see blood. Shudra cannot see blood. When you're implementing dharma, you may have some killing. Okay, this is fine. Now, what is this implementing dharma means? My dharma, your dharma? No. Bhagavad Gita, the word Hindu dharma doesn't exist. Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati. Krishna doesn't say Hindu dharmasya glani bhavati. He doesn't say that. Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati. And what does Hindu dharma mean today? To follow any nonsense you want and say in the name of a dharma. They say Hinduism is a way of life. Where it is given in the Shastra, there's nonsense. Just like we're joking, no? Many shops it is written, Gita Sar. It is not there in Gita. That's all. That is your imagination. Jo bhi hua, acha hua. Jo bhi hoga, acha hoga. Gita Sar. Gita doesn't write that. Jo bhi hua aur acha ho sakta tha. If you are chanting Hare Krishna, or better would have happened. Hai na? This makes a person very fatalistic. He doesn't have to do anything. Correct? Jo bhi hua acha hua, jo bhi hua acha hoga. Then what do I do? What kind of philosophy is this? And they write this and people are very happy. So they get some kind of peace of mind because then all responsibility is taken away. You tell somebody he got 20 out of 100. Jo bhi hua acha hua, aap padhte to aur acha ho sakta tha. Correct philosophy. Hai na? But then it puts us to shame. It puts us to guilt for what mess we have created. So therefore, we don't like that philosophy. We like that philosophy because there's no wonderful. So now coming to Yuddha, yes, sometimes a king can attack a neighboring kingdom that is not following the religious principles. What are the religious principles? They're beyond all the religions. Dhyutam Panam Sriyam Shana. When Parikshit Maharaj, the Kali Purusha, appeared in front of him, what did he say? These 4 places you can go. Kali Purusha. Right? So these places sin is sitting. And the kingdom is destroyed if these 4 things are encouraged. So a neighboring king can do that. And before doing that, because he may make a mistake in analysis, therefore no king used to be beyond counsel of the Brahmanas. Sages will guide. No, that's right. They will not lift weapon, but tell him do this. So he will himself be controlled by the sages who will check, who will vet, who will filter his decision, whether it is doing for just personal aggrandizement or is doing for dharma. Correct? Very simple. Now, another reason there used to be war is very interesting. The whole world has to have a ruler. Just like in a family, finally at the end of the day, one person has to make a decision. You're buying a car, it has to be Marathi or Innova or Ertiga. You have 10 options, correct? Somebody has to make a decision. It will be chaos even in the family if there is not one person finally making a decision. Correct? Just like in a body, the head makes a decision. So it has to be there. So the whole world also, there has to be a final decision maker on Earth planet. There has to be one. So that was used to be called Rajasuya Yajna. Correct? Ashwamedha Yajna. Both are similar. There are very slight differences. Essence between both the same, Rajasuya or Ashwamedha, they will be after, just like Krishna made Yudhishthira Maharaj do that Yajna after the war 3 times he did to establish his supremacy. Because the world has to have a ruler, emperor. And there is peace after that. Because the ruler is pious. Like Yudhishthira Maharaj created Vaikuntha on earth. Now how can he do that when every ruler is independent, doing whatever he wants? No. He is fully under control of the sages. Vipra Dharma Achyuta Ashaya is fully guided by them. And all the kings in the world have to be subordinated so that he can take charge. True? Yudhishthira Maharaj's time, there's so much peace on earth. But how can there be? There is anarchy. No? So there has to be an emperor. So for that establishment, not everybody will put in a papers. Like today, they will go for so kind of voting. Previously, no voting. One person will be the ruler of the world. One country will be the emperor of the whole world. And that has been history of the world. But then what they did, they exploited. They colonized certain part of the world, and the European countries got a little powerful. They went all around colonizing. Was there to establish dharma? No. Their intention was to exploit. They were looking for markets for their products. Something, it was all polluted. They were looking to so many ways to collect resources without paying any money. So they started looting around the world, colonizing and looting. But that is not dharma yuddha, and that is not being an emperor really means. Every king in the world had to give him some amount of tax to express their subordination. Okay? Similar thing what Parikshit Maharaj ruling were the emperors of the world. Now, one king and the one emperor in the whole world brings peace to the world. Otherwise, there is constant cold war, hot war going on. People are peaceful. And that emperor used to be a very pious person. Now, just like even in the universe, there are devatas who are ruling by the will of the Lord. You have Indra, you have Ganesha, you have Shiva, all they are ruling the universe. Brahma, they're ruling the universe with their assigned responsibilities. Within a planet, there is some kind of XYZ. And sometimes the Danavas become so powerful, they overthrow the Devatas, even to the extent of the universe. Like Hiranyakashipu. Now he sent his brother to go rule all around the world. But that was demoniac because that was just to harass people. The intention was to exploit people. Intention was not to give shelter to the innocent people. Intention was not to bring the society to Krishna's lotus feet. His intention was exploit and harass. Now, this being the conclusion, this is what happened in the time of this is not very virtuous. And we see the Hiranyaksha traveling all around the universe, just showing his power. They both gave Jaya Vijaya originally. They are extremely powerful. They did tapasya and they got blessing from Brahma to become practically unconquerable. And they are roaming around, harassing the whole universe. Particularly Hiranyaksha used to go just to please his brother. This has nothing to do with dharma. This is just exploiting other people by our power, which has generally happened in the history. This we cannot find any reason. And at the end of the day, this was just to exploit. And Hiranyaksha, Prabhupada says, was bringing gold. Even for a place called Brazil. Somewhere it says, the reading he had a tunnel to go to Brazil and bring gold across the planet. So similar details a separate issue. The point is that similar to the colonial powers did, go all around the world, loot and bring resources. That is what he was doing. Now, this is not considered something virtuous. Like even Ravana was doing like that, So this is not considered virtuous and healthy. And Geda idai dharmasya glani bhavati. So wherever it happens, then Krishna interferes. Artificially, somebody becomes a leader without a qualification and harasses and exploits of the people, then Krishna interferes. Finally, it is not Hiranyakashipu's kingdom or Ravana's kingdom. It is Krishna's kingdom. On behalf of Krishna, they are ruling. That is called Naradeva. They are representing the Lord's will. Just like Krishna, God Yudhishthira on the throne and he removed Duryodhana. Is it very clear? That's called Dharma Yuddha. Krishna doesn't do anything wrong. God is always good. So Krishna made that decision, and for implementing that decision, crores of people died. No problem. So Shudra mentality, that is for children. They get scared of blood. Just like in medicine, the doctor is not scared of blood. He sees blood. So Kshatriya was allowed to go on hunting in the forest. So he was allowed to go on hunting to practice seeing blood. Generally, he will kill some wild animals to bring peace even to the forest. But the essence was he was given as a concession. Why? Because he has to see blood. That means he has to kill sometimes. There was some situation, very funny situation. What happened? In some city, some police knew at that place that criminal will be there. So rather go with the key. So all the police people were, inspector was there. He was coming to buy some car in a showroom. They came, they got a tip off. So the inspector came with an havaldar there. They were just like in a movie scene, holding newspaper and hiding there. To catch him moment he enters. He entered and he understood police is here. He tried to run. So they both ran behind him. And in the middle, he took his knife and attacked the inspector. And the inspector died. And the havaldar, instead of attacking him, fainted seeing the blood. This is, it came in the news. This is not the way Kshatriya is. Kshatriya doesn't faint seeing blood. In such situation, there has to be war. Dharma Yuddha, that person has to be punished. Okay? You cannot have daily no war. It's common. War is needed. There are criminals always in the world. But in the situation that the demons become powerful, they take over the throne of the world, then the Krishna interferes. Like Hiranaksha, Hiranyakashipu became so powerful that Indra also had to run away from the seat. Hiranyakashipu took up the Indrasana and he sat on it. And Indra was hiding. Okay? We know that. So therefore, war is not always bad. Sometimes war is good. Sometimes it is needed. You see Krishna, Lord Rama, when his wife was kidnapped by Ravana, should have said no war. What no war? He did war. True. Yesterday we were talking about Parashuram. 21 times he killed the Kshatriyas. How many times? 21 times. So it's not it. But Kali Yuga situation is very funny. What is the funny situation in Kali Yuga? The funny situation in Kali Yuga is that Prabhupada says the people are already dead. They're so weak. Suppose there is one person, he has been beaten by a stick 100 times. He's already dead. The killing is too much now, already is dead. Therefore, in Kali Yuga, generally, you see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in India, his movement was going on. So at that time, Muslims have invaded the country. And definitely torture. This was not Dharma Yuddha. They are torturing, exploiting, killing. We have the instance of them killing lakhs of people in a city. Correct? There's butchering like vegetables. Unimaginable situation. Interestingly, not discussed in the history books. Why hide the truth? What do you get by hiding the truth? Tell the truth, this happened. Just like it doesn't happen in any part of the world, they hide that. In Korea, Japanese came on. Japanese were very powerful. They went to China. They discussed that. The Japanese came and they apologized to the country. We are sorry we did that in history. Correct? Isn't it? They asked for an apology. Sometimes they ask for even you have to compensate now for the damage you did in the history. It has happened in many countries. There is no point in hiding. Tell properly. That's what happened. It's not discussed. You know, this fellow went to this city and 4 lakh people were just butchered for no purpose. Just butchered them. And all the women were taken as prisoners and sold like vegetables. This happened actually in India. It happened for 700 years. They don't discuss that. This happened. We know that. Why hide? Because then they come to know to other souls and they lose your respect for your so-called history books. That's the fact. This all happened. So this was not Dharma. So anyway, coming back to coming back to the shloka here, Hiranaksha, Hiranyakashipu became powerful, harassed, and Dharma Siglan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I was talking about. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in India. He's Narsimhadev himself. True. In Narasimhadeva. So, why didn't he take his real form as Narasimha? I see so much temples being broken, deities being thrown. Deities are thrown in the steps of the temple, and people are supposed to walk on them. They will break a temple, take the deities, throw on the road, and make people walk on that next step. Basically, desecration of unimagined proportion. True? And butcher all the pujaris there, maybe 1,000, 2,000, just kill them. So, Lord being there, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why didn't he do anything about it? Correct? This question comes. Yada yada dhanavasya glani bhavati bharata abhyuthana madarasya tadatmanam sijam. This question comes or not? Okay, God was not there, Samajaya. God was there, and in front of him this was happening. So, not small scale, it was butchering of the scale. It is said that in the history this chapter is hidden. Indian history, world history. There are extra sites which have this information. You don't get in the normal mainstream. But if you look at our conversations, it actually happens. Temples, all the main places, Mathura, Ayodhya were broken. Correct? And if somebody came in front to protect, they were butchered. Like Parusharam, rivers of blood were made. But why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not lift a weapon? He lifted weapon. When somebody tried to punish Nityananda Prabhu, he lifted weapon, he brought a Sudarshana. He did bring a Sudarshana. So question definitely comes to the heart. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu being there at that time, 500 years ago, this was going on. Correct? This started sometimes and it went on. I said 80 till 2000 at least, it went on. So this tamasha goes on. Why did he not lift a weapon? The Prabhupada says the answer to this. One thing, his incarnation was as a devotee. Second thing is that people are actually suffering the result of their own sinful activities. There's nobody innocent in this world. Third thing is that, which Prabhupada said, other two are my analysis. It's like Buddha also stopped the worship of the temples in India. God himself. Deities are lost, temples are closed. Because dharma was misused. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the Vedic culture will take care of everything. That cannot be taken over by just force. So now the answer lies in the combination of all this. Yeah, so the combination of all the answer lies, and actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left his movement, Krishna consciousness movement. And in this incarnation, we see that Nityananda Prabhu had requested him not to lift a weapon. He said, don't lift weapon in this incarnation. And in this incarnation, in Astra, it says, Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sangopanga Astra Pashatam. Astra is there, the word. Chaitanya comes with Astra. But his Astra is not Sudarshan Chakra. His Astra is not Krishna's any other weapon. His Astra is his beauty. Astra is the sweetness of the chanting of the holy name. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted that Krishna consciousness, and he predicted it will happen. It will take over the whole world. Try to understand this. When one person tries to dominate another person, two ways you can do that. One way is by weapon, other is by knowledge. Just like it is said, India conquered whole China without throwing one arrow in the history. Why? Buddhism. Whole world became, whole China became at a particular time. Even now they say their religion is Buddhism, but they're not following it. But you understand? Without going, like Sri Lanka, so many countries, they became submissive to the Buddhism principles. And that is what at the end you want. So, real thing is actually bringing people to follow the Dharma. So there is a war by weapons. Just like I try to subdue you by power. But that doesn't last. Like we threw away the Britishers, we threw away the Muslim rule, we threw it away. It's just a matter of time, few days, few years. But the real subjugation is by wonderful knowledge. Person said, yes, I like to follow this. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted, this kind of victory. This victory is lasting. This victory is lasting. Okay? So, now analysis, if you can conclude. Hiranyaksha, what he's doing, that kind of victory has no meaning. It's demonic, yeah? And it is with the purpose to hurt and pain people. But there were kings who was ruling all over the world and keeping the rule all over the world as emperor, but because the spirit was divine. Like Parikshit Maharaj, when he heard that some part of the world, he was emperor of the world, something like Afghanistan, it is proper calculates and is based on his travel. Some 4 regulative principles are being broken. He went personally to see. That is called a real emperor. And that kind of emperor is actually trying to benefit the world. I hope I have not created more questions than answers. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the nice session.
So, Vaishnava